What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we're working on the 97X again, as you can see. And what we got going on today, we got a radiator and yet another set of fans, Flex-a-lite fans, to go in this thing. I'm probably going to catch a little flack for this, but I came across something kind of interesting on eBay last week, and so I decided I'd take one for the team and test it out. So this is kind of going to be like a research and development situation on the radiator. I figured I'd try it out, see how it worked, you know, before I go spending money on another radiator. So this is a 3-row aluminum radiator, and it's listed for the 4.2 inline 6 Trailblazer. They didn't seem to have a V8 model for this company, but this thing costs $205 shipped, which is just unbelievable. It looks like it's pretty decent. I mean, it's not polished or anything really, but you know, as far as I can tell, the welds all look solid. Not the prettiest I've ever seen, but everything looks really solid. And you know, they're pressure checked and all that good stuff, so everything looks pretty solid, especially for $200. So anyway, the only big difference between the V8 model and the 4.2 is the bottom inlet is on the driver's side. You know, on the V8 model, they're both on the passenger side. So I've got a similar setup in my ProCharge Trailblazer. The radiator that I've got in there is actually listed for a Mopar for like a 67 to 72 or something like that. And that's a Mopar. Back when I did that radiator setup, I actually had a 4.2 inline 6 in my Trailblazer, and it's set up pretty similar. You know, the outlet for the radiator is over on this side, you know, and it's set up pretty much the same way. So one of the things that I do like about this is a true crossflow radiator. You know, so that means that the water is coming out of the engine at the top and runs into the radiator, and the outlet's on the diagonal side of it, so it's utilizing more of the radiator evenly. Whereas the V8 models or the stock ones, you know, it's got your inlet and outlet right here, and contrary to popular belief, it's not a dual pass radiator. So basically you've got water coming in here, coming out here, so most of your heat's going to be concentrated in this area. And even though this side's going to be doing some cooling, it's not going to be very even. This side's going to be a lot hotter, and this side's going to be a little cooler. So with a true cross-flow design, you're going to have better cooling a design from the radiator, you know, right off the rip. So that's why I wanted to give this one a try, and you know, see how well it works, see if it, you know, develops any leaks or anything. But it's honestly, it looks really nice. Got the tabs, you know, for the AC condenser down there. They tried to duplicate the stock one, and even on the stock ones, these don't do anything. I have no idea why those are even on the radiator, these brackets here. But so I may end up just nipping these off. But these are the, you know, the mounts for the stock fan shroud. So if you wanted to run your stock fan, you could. You know, the little hook right there, the bolt's got the tabs in the bottom, and it's got a cooler built into it, or heat exchanger for the transmission, but I'm not interested in that. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get this thing put in. I do notice a couple of things that I know I'm gonna have to do. The top of this radiator is square, and you'll notice the stock one is rounded off, so I already know right away we're likely going to have to kind of square this off just a little bit. I don't think that's going to be a huge deal, but depending on exactly how tall that radiator sits and everything, it may be that they've already got it, you know, kind of short enough that it fits, because there is kind of a squared off area in here, so we might get lucky and it might slide in there. I'm not going to count my chickens on that one, but there's always a possibility, so I'm going to check. But at the very least, we might just have to come up here and just kind of nip that corner out of there, you know. But and the only other thing is, I'm gonna have to have a, you know, kind of a custom lower radiator hose, but that's not too big of a deal. Alright guys, as you saw, we got stage 1 complete. Radiators installed, got it all wired up. I moved the controller from the other shroud onto this one. I didn't really measure it or take any notice to it before I started, but the upper radiator hose is going to be different than the original one, but I've already mocked one up, you know, so do the same thing I did the other day. But so far this radiator looks nice. Fitment was pretty good. I don't have any complaints there. It fits as good as any other bolt-on part, you know. I didn't have to significantly modify anything, so that's good. The only thing, this was actually really close, like I was kind of thinking it might possibly be, but I was having a hard time getting the lower bolt started in the hood latch bracket, so I went ahead and just notched little corners out, which you saw in the time lapse. It wasn't much. It was just enough to make it easier, you know, to get the bolt started down there. And this is basically how much I cut out of the corners. And I just used a razor knife, so there was 2 little pieces like that. I mean, it's not much. Anyway, so far everything's looking pretty good. I'll probably end up getting a different radiator cap. This one's a 1.1 bar, which I think is 16 pounds. Should be, I think 16 pounds. And I'm probably going to get like a 7-pound cap. Just because on these aluminum radiators I like to run a lower pressure. And it does lower the boiling point just a little bit, but that doesn't affect the cooling capacity. And the boiling point still, you know, somewhere in the 240 range, so I mean, that's not a problem. But I don't like to put too much pressure on the aluminum radiators because of all the welds and everything, so that's what I'm running on my ProCharge Trailblazer. Also has a 7-pound cap, so and plus I didn't really like that yellow sticker. Not that that's a huge deal, but anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and mock up the lower radiator hose. I got the upper one mocked up, and I don't know if I'm just gonna hook this rubber hose back up to this thing, or if I'm gonna go ahead and run a poly line over there. You know, so we'll see what happens there. Other than that, that's pretty much all I need to do right now, is just go ahead and mock up the lower radiator hose, and as soon as we get a chance, we'll run over to the auto parts store, play music with hoses again, see if we can get something going on that. Alright guys, we made some pretty good progress here. Pretty much done. Just gonna finish topping off the coolant. And I got the AC on full blast, so we're gonna see how cool it stays with the AC on. Another cool thing about this, it goes right into the upper radiator hose, so that's a little bit like how I usually pour it into the upper radiator hose and then fill up the radiator. Kind of does both at once on this one. Those fans are like sucking my shirt up in the grill. Alright guys, I got finished up with the radiator install, and I data logged this thing for about 45 minutes, and as you can see, and this was with the AC on full blast, it's sitting there holding 180 degrees, and you can tell it's definitely fully warmed up because the intake temps are reading 113, so I mean, definitely warm. And so that's pretty impressive. And that's kind of how my ProCharge Trailblazer does with my 3-0 radiator in there. But again, and I don't know if I made this very clear in my last video about the LS1 water pump upgrade, you can't just throw a LS1 water pump into a stock Trailblazer SS with the stock radiator and expect it to solve all your cooling problems. I'm pretty sure I mentioned in my last video, and a lot of you guys already know, if you have a 3-row radiator and some really good fans, it's fine as long as you're driving. But if you sit in traffic for a little while with the AC on, and when I say a little while, I mean if you sit at a red light for 5 minutes, you'll notice that it starts getting hot. You may not notice on the stock gauge cluster, but if you're data logging it, you can definitely see the temperatures rising quick at idle, like really quick. And if you ever get stuck on the interstate or something like that, I'm sure a bunch of you have experienced having to turn the AC off just to try to keep the thing cool enough, you know, to sit in traffic. So if you already have a 3-row radiator and some really good electric fans, the LS1 water pump will solve the overheating problem with it idling. That will 100% solve it. And I just proved it right here for you guys, just so that you can see you know how it does. Like I said, this thing just ran for 45 minutes with the AC on full blast, and it maintained 180 degrees, and it's not even probably fully bled out. I'm sure there's probably still, you know, a little bit of air in the system. I filled it up as much as I could, but you know how it is when you heat cycle a couple times and drive it, a little bit more air will probably come out, you know, through the steam ports or what have you. So but even now, I just filled it up and it held 180 degrees with the AC on full blast. So as far as the radiator itself, as far as the quality, we'll find out today. I'm going to drive it to work and data log it. That's a good, you know, 35-40 minute drive, and so we'll see how it holds up. But already, judging by the temperatures it's holding at idle, I mean, obviously it's an efficient radiator. And I got the Flex-a-lite 420 fans, and they're doing their job. You know, I'm using the Flex-a-lite controller, which you guys saw in the time-lapse footage. All I had to do is just unplug a couple of wires, and all this stuff, you know, just peels back over here. So it's easy to take everything out when you need to. You can see the radiator hoses, and like I said, this is a cross-flow design. Instead of utilizing mostly this side of the radiator and a little bit over here, this is going to utilize the entire radiator. That's one thing I like about this design, the cross-flow design. So I got the upper radiator hose, got the lower radiator hose put in. That's the stock lower radiator hose coming off of the water pump, and then I got this other piece to add on to it with a splice. That's really the best I could do. I spent a good bit of time digging through the radiator hoses. You guys might have better luck, but actually, I mean, this isn't bad at all. You know, I've got a splice in the ProCharge Trailblazer in the lower hose too, pretty similar to this. So I haven't had any problems with it for several years. So there's really nothing wrong with that setup. I am going to make a small bracket to put up under that hose just to make sure it's not bouncing around. But other than that, everything's good. I put some poly tube on here, you know, to kind of clean it up a little bit. And I did get a 7 PSI radiator cap. You know, you guys can do what you want to, but personally, anytime that I'm running an aluminum radiator, I always run a lower pressure, just because it's easier on the welds, you know, and everything. And you know, this thing came with like a 16 PSI radiator cap, and I put a 7 PSI on there. It does not lower the cooling capacity of the radiator or the system. You know, it just lowers the boiling point a little bit, but the boiling point is way above what you need it to be. I mean, even right now at 7 PSI with the 50/50, it should be somewhere around 260 degrees boiling point. So, you know, that's not a problem at all. And the lower pressure puts a lot less strain on the radiator itself. You know, so you're a lot less prone to have leaks or anything like that. So anytime I run a full 3-row or whatever aluminum radiator, I always run a lower pressure. But anyway, that's pretty much it for now. I'll get a couple of clips this evening with an update of how it does, and then I'll be uploading this video. So I'll see you guys later. Alright guys, I've been cruising down the highway and surface streets, and this thing's actually doing really well. Right now I'm running right around 80 miles an hour, 82 miles an hour, and she's been holding 183 degrees, and I got the AC on, you know, just cruising. It's 84 degrees outside. That's the exterior temp on the AC unit there. So this thing's doing great. I stopped and got fuel and left it running, and you know, I got up to about 185, you know, sitting there filling this thing up with gas, and that was after I had been driving for a while. So this thing's doing great. So I would say, at least for now, this is the cheapest, best bang for your buck radiator I've ever seen. And you know, of course, I highly recommend the Flex-a-lite fans. So, but as you guys can see, I mean, this thing, it works. The setup works. You know, the LS1 water pump conversion, this 3-row radiator and the fans, I think that combo all put together, the best cooling solution you could ever find for any of these trucks. Trailblazers, Trailblazer SS, Envoys, you know, 97X, whatever these trucks. This is an excellent and very affordable combo. So anyway, I appreciate you guys watching, and hope you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. We got more content coming. I'll see y'all later.